Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. As you all know, I'm a massive fan of the Hasselblad X2D. I've done loads and loads of videos on it, but today is all about the successor, the X2D2. I've had it for about a month, I put it through its paces, and this video is all about my experience with it. So the X2D2 is a looker almost exactly like the last one. It's got this machined aluminium body in a lighter grey than the black of the X2D. I missed that at first, but actually now the new look has really grown on me. Another great feature is that the X2D2 has got an articulating screen which can now face downwards and upwards. It's got two new controls, so this 5D joystick and the custom button underneath. I've been using the joystick for controlling my autofocus points, but can also be used to navigate menus if you don't fancy dirtying the screen with your fingers. The custom button, which is here, is currently set to cycling between the various focus modes. Another feature of this upgrade, and this is for fans of manual focusing, I've noticed a tiny but very neat adjustment to that experience. So when focusing manually, this camera gives you the tiniest bit of haptic feedback when your selection area is sharp. But you didn't watch this video to learn about manual focus, and that brings us to the big news. Thanks to the integration of LiDAR into the system, this camera now has an AFC option. Yes, it can chase moving targets. If we didn't all love the Hasselblad natural colour solution as much as we do, we'd all have switched to Fuji long ago. Before we jump into the rest of the video, I'm a commercial photographer with a clean and punchy style. I'm based in Manchester, UK, and my website is philtragan.com, and on Insta, I'm at philtraganphoto. If you've been enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe. So now we harness our hopes to a central question. More controls are cool, but does the camera work? I took it to a blues gig to find out. Now these were all shot on the 90V at more or less the same settings, so f2.5, 250th of a second, and ISO 3200. So pushing quite hard on the noise front, but cleaned up using Hasselblad natural noise reduction, which is really great. It's a function that's been on the excellent Focus Mobile for a little while. It's now available in Focus Desktop. Focus Desktop still sucks, but at least we know people are still developing the offering there. I've deliberately picked pictures which include motion, captures that would have been possible on the X2D. And you know from the camera settings that we're somewhat in the dark here, but this camera handled the stage action with ease. So I flipped my camera away from the stage to see what I could get from the audience with almost no defining light on them at all, and you know what? It found them. So there you go, the X2D2 can photograph a gig. This news made me quite bold, so I took the X2D2 to a job to see if it could help me shoot a gallery opening event. The X2D could have just about managed this, maybe just, but a key difference isn't just that the camera has AFC now and can track things. It can lock onto still objects far faster too. The main limitation of using the X2D2 at events isn't really the autofocus anymore, to be honest. It's the burst mode, which is around 3 frames per second, and the fact that you'll be editing hundreds of 100 megapixel pictures later on. There's also the trade-off that shooting in burst mode limits your colours to 14-bit. In single shot mode, you get the full 16. You'll always be better off shooting your events on a 35mm system, but it's interesting that for the first time, you now have a choice. Before I carry on talking about this particular camera, I just want to offer a tip for users of the X2D and the X2D2, and that is to buy an L bracket. And that's for one major reason. The doors to these compartments are a great design feature, but the last thing you want is to put them in your bag with these doors still open. They're not made of rubber, they'll absolutely get permanently bent out of shape. On a camera this pretty, that's obviously quite difficult to tolerate. What's important to me about this camera isn't can it hold its own at a gig or can it hold its own at an event, although those are useful, they're just a bit surplus to requirement. What I really need is for it to be able to hold its own on a portrait shoot. And what I need in that situation is, I need it to have continuous focus, I need it to be able to track eyes accurately, and I need it to be able to do all these things on a pretty wide aperture. So I took the X2D2, an iPad and some flashes to a location to do a portrait shoot and see what it could do. I'll spare you the indignity of going through Focus Desktop with me to look at the full set, but I would say that on balance around 85% of the pictures I took that day were in focus. And by in focus I mean the eyeballs were sharp and they weren't back focused on the ears, for example. And considering that we were shooting around f2.5, f2.8 most of the day, and it's on medium format, that narrower depth of field that you get from medium format is a real challenge to accuracy. So I would say overall, I'm pretty impressed with what this camera can do. It felt capable. Another thing worth noting is that in the month since I've had the X2D, I've started using the 90V a lot more. I think that now the autofocus can track things accurately, I'm no longer as worried about missing focus in that unforgiving way you do into longer telephoto lengths. The wider 55V was more forgiving in that respect, but with the 90V I had to double check every portrait that I took. Even tiny movements in my subject would knock the sharpness off. The X2D2's ability to grab onto faces quickly now means I can snatch pictures like this. 100 megapixels of resolution, 16-bit color, medium format feel, and so much faster than I could before. The 55V is still my favorite all-rounder, but there's no question now that the new autofocus system on the X2D2 has made the 90V just a much more usable lens. Even my old 21mm lens, which doesn't support AFC as yet, is a much more usable lens on this system because the AFS mode is so much snappier than it used to be. After a month, I've nothing bad yet to say about this camera. The X2D always had beauty, but this incremental upgrade adds much needed brains to the mix. The gap between medium format and 35mm seems to be closing all the time and almost entirely in medium format's favour. Hasselblad is seeing this new model ranking near the top of best-selling camera lists. I'm not really very surprised because with these functional improvements, the X2D2 can no longer be tarred as a mere camera for dentists, landscape enthusiasts or retired people called Alan. It's actually a competent all-rounder now that still takes the best pictures on Earth. Hope you like this video, thank you for watching, don't forget to like and share. See you around.